Hey guys, Miss K here. I know it's been a few days. That's because I wanted to make sure we wrapped up the photosynthesis and respiration unit. I wanted to give people a few days to catch up. A lot of people are telling me that they were overwhelmed with lessons from all their classes and making sure that they're on track. So I wanted to give everyone a few days to kind of catch up. There was a survey sent out. It is still open. If you did not take that survey, please go on our team site to take it. It's basically just asking about how you feel about online learning, and then asking for suggestions that you have. The results from the survey were pretty much that people are a little overwhelmed by the amount of work for each class. So I'm going to talk about that more in a second. And the vote for what unit to do next is ecology. So I kind of wanted to give you guys an option of what unit we can do for life sciences, because we had a few available. So I wanted to see what you guys were most interested in for our next unit, and the results say that we are going to do ecology as our next unit. So other announcements are super important announcement is because we know that our goal is 80% mastery so that we can take biology and be on track to graduate on time and have a choice of our job or college. So we just got word, and all the logistics of this haven't yet been figured out. We just got word that most likely they're going to be using past performance and teacher recommendations to place students in their next classes. So long story short, we're not taking the FSA, as you guys should already know. They're going to be asking our recommendation. This is as of now, this could always change. They're going to be asking our recommendations as well as past performance. What that means for you is that in order to be on track entering high school, things I would suggest, highly suggest, is that especially when you're doing Achieve 3000, you are taking it seriously in all of your classes, and you're trying to get your Lexile as high as possible, because I think from what I've heard, your Lexile is going to determine a lot, even when it comes to like science and other classes. So please, when you're doing Achieve, whether it's for my class, English, whatever class you're doing Achieve for, you're taking it seriously. You are trying your best always. You're not just trying to flip through it and get it done, because if possible, you want to increase your Lexile as much as possible before the end of the school year, because they'll be using that as a key factor to determine what classes you are in. As far as recommendations go, I will be basing that off of, well, not only work ethic, but also your scores so far this year. So those of you who are on track for 3 or higher on all our tests will be recommended for biology this year, as long as you keep up the good work. And as well as some bubble students, and we already had these conversations before spring break. You should know who you are. If you're in the yellow, it's gonna be based off of not only your scores, but also your work ethic as well as your Lexile level. So again, please take these Achieve articles seriously. Now, tying in what we now know how they're most likely going to place students and your responses from the survey is people are saying they're overwhelmed by the amount of work. So what I am going to do is remove one Penda lesson a week, because I think it's a lot for you guys to be learning something new, watching a video every day, doing the Penda. People are overwhelmed by that, and I spoke to a few students that said Achieve 3000 would be a good substitute. So I'm going to be replacing one video a week starting next week with, I did start this week already, with an Achieve 3000 article. Alright, and that will also help increase your Lexile levels as long as you're taking it seriously, so you're on track for classes next year. Alright, if you have further questions on that, please don't be afraid to call and come to office hours and or email me. Other announcements is your grades I put them in at the end of each week in order to do attendance. Important things to know is that I've gotten a lot of emails saying, Miss K, I have a 0 in this, but I actually got an 80 on it. Just like in class, if you go back and do an assignment late, that is fine, but you do have to email me to say, hey, Miss K, I redid this assignment. Okay, and I will go back and put it in, because, you know, I do want to be putting in grades for everyone who's able to do them on time. If you do them late, you will not be penalized. However, I just need to be emailed and to let me know to go put them in. Alright, let's get started with our lesson. So today's lesson is going to be pretty short, pretty simple. We're going to start with like the middle school version, and then we're actually going to build up kind of to the biology level for ecology. So ecology. Ecology is the study of organisms and their environment. So recall that an organism is any living thing. It could be a plant, an animal, bacteria, fungi, or protists. Any living thing is an organism. So ecology is when we learn about how living things interact with their environment and the land around them. All right, the first thing you have to do is pause here and do quick check 1 about what is the goal, or what is the study of ecology on. There are also a few questions about how you will be placed based on what I went over at the beginning, but your quick checks are starting here, and it is about what is the study of ecology. So pause here and do quick check 1 on what is ecology. Alright, so our new unit is ecology, which is the study of organisms and their environment. Alright, now moving on to our LEQ for today is what do producers, consumers, and decomposers do in a food web. So today we're going to start like the most basic level, and then starting next week we're going to build on to what we learned today. Alright, so your goal today is bare minimum to know what producers are, what decomposers are, and what consumers are. Your goal is to know what they are and what they do in a food web. Today we're going to start off super basic and do a food chain and go over these definitions, but you are going to have to build on to that. Alright, so by bare minimum you need to know producers, consumers, and decomposers. Alright, first thing you need to know is producers. Producers produce or make their own food using energy from the sun. We just learned about this in our last unit. What process is it called when organisms use sun's energy to make their own food? Photosynthesis, right? So producers, P, do photosynthesis, P. Producers produce. Producers, photosynthesis. So this is a super simple food chain that I draw. At the bottom of food chains and food webs are producers. Here I drew just regular grass. Any kind of organism that does photosynthesis, any kind of plant, or some bacteria do photosynthesis would be at the bottom of a food chain or a food web. Another word which we should already know is that organisms that make their own food are called autotrophs. So again, we should already know another word for producer is autotroph. Autotroph makes their own food. Producers make their own food. They're the bottom of any food chain or food web. Producers do photosynthesis, make their own food. Autotrophs, another word for producer. Alright, next word I need to talk about is a consumer. If I'm consuming food, if I'm consuming fried chicken or I'm consuming a salad, alright, I am consuming another organism. Alright, so our second level in any food chain or food web is a consumer. Here I drew, a very good example of a bunny. And the bunny is eating the grass. Note that the arrow goes from the producer to the consumer, the rabbit. That means that the rabbit is consuming the grass. Alright, the energy, arrows go in the direction of energy transfer. Energy is being transferred from the grass to the rabbit when the rabbit eats it. So the arrow is going from the grass to the rabbit. The rabbit is a consumer because it's eating or consuming something else, the grass. Another word for an organism that needs to get its food from another source is heterotroph. So again, the rabbit is a consumer because it's consuming another organism. It could also be called a heterotroph because heterotrophs get their food from another source. All right, let's pause here real quick, and I need you to do quick checks 2 and 3 about producers and consumers. Pause here real quick and do quick checks 2 and 3 about producers and consumers. Alright, so far we should know producers produce their own food, also called autotrophs. This is like things like plants that do photosynthesis and are at the bottom of food chains or food webs. Consumers consume other organisms, such as grass, and can also be called heterotrophs. So here, the snake is also a consumer. It's consuming the bunny, alright, but it's still a consumer. Even though it's not consuming the grass at the bottom, it's still a consumer. It's still a heterotroph. It's still getting its food from another source. It's not making its own food, so the snake is still a consumer. There's different names for the types of consumers. We're going to do that next lesson. All right, so we have producers, consumers, and then notice here we have decomposers. Decomposers you should already have a base knowledge of from when we did the carbon cycle. Decomposers break down dead or organic living material. Decomposers break down dead or organic, which means living material. So here I drew a bacteria and a mushroom to represent a fungi. And when the snake and the bunny die, the decomposers can break them down and give those nutrients back to the soil and the earth. So decomposers are super important because once organisms die, they allow the nutrients from the organisms to be recycled in a food web. So decomposers break down other things, living things in a food web. That includes they'll break down grass and animals when they are died. So decomposers break down dead or other living material. Please pause here and do your next quick check on decomposers. Alright, so now we're going to be looking at the whole thing together. So this is a super simplified version, alright? Next lesson we're going to be stepping up our game, looking at a little bit of a more complicated food web. So recapping key points. Producers produce their own food by photosynthesis, also called autotroph. Consumers consume other organisms, such as grass or such as other animals, also known as heterotrophs. Decomposers break down dead or organic material, such as animals or plants. The direction of the arrow is the direction of energy transfer. So when the rabbit eats the grass, the energy is being transferred from the grass to the rabbit. When the snake eats the rabbit, the energy is being transferred from the rabbit to the snake. When the fungi break down the dead rabbit, energy is being transferred from the rabbit to the fungi. So the arrows are in the direction that energy is being transferred. So this right here is a very simplified food chain, and we're going to be stepping up our game next lesson. But for right now, I need you to pause the video or end the video, do your LEQ and your exit ticket, call in if you have questions or concerns, and this is our first lesson on ecology. Bye guys.